Hi, my name is Phil and a warm welcome to Festool TV. When working with man-made boards such as kitchen worktops or MDF, a challenge that can be faced is creating a joint which is strong, quick and easy to produce, but also one that leaves the surface perfectly flat on the face side. But with Festool, working with the Domino XL 700 and the Festool connection system, we can create exactly such a joint which solves all those challenges. So, if we put the machine to one side, we could first of all look at how this connection system works. So here we have two pieces of MDF, but the top joint on this side is nice and flat. And on the inside, we have two connectors which pull the material together. But the big advantage of working with this type of system is that we can also dismantle what we have produced. And so therefore, assembling is very, very simple, but transportation is also a big advantage as well. And with this type of system, we create a very strong joint, which can last over a long period of time as well. So the next stage is to show you how we can work with this type of connection system for man-made boards. So I need to create a joint between these two pieces of worktop. One side has already had the slots cut, and so now our next stage is to produce the joints on this piece of material. Along here, I have some pencil marks, and these are already in the correct position for where I want to cut the joint. And so the next stage is to set the Domino XL 700 up to cut the initial joint, which will go into our material at 50 millimeters. So on the side here, I've got two sliders for the depth of cut that I need to make. I'm going to be working with a 14 millimeter cutter, but I need to set the depth of cut at 50 millimeters. And along here, I can set two different depth settings. I need to go in 50 millimeters, but on the opposite side, I will then make a cut at 30. So I can now set both of the depths of cut that are needed. I can bring the slider to this position, and then for my second cut, we can then put the slider back onto the 30 millimeter position. So all I'll need to do when I make the cuts is just move between the two settings. I need my fixing to go into the center of the board. So we can undo the fence, bring this up, and then I can move my height of cut to that position where it says 20 millimeters, drop the fence down, and then lock it off into position. So now the Domino XL is set to cut in at 50 millimeters all the way along on the four positions. In the middle here, I'll have two timber dominoes, and my connection system from Festool will go on the front joint and also on the back joint. So now everything is set, we can make the cut. So now the four cuts have been made, we need to turn the board over, and then we can work with the Domino XL in the vertical position. So I've taken the pencil mark around, and we have a line here. That's going to be the center point for my next cut. The fixing that goes into here is going to be will be used with one of these connectors that we use for working with solid timber as well. But for working with man-made boards, we can put these two plastic covers over the connector, and we can put these together. This means that this is opened up a little bit. And the next stage is to increase the width of the slot to allow for this fixing. So on the side here with the lever, we can then take this over to the side, and this will open up the slot that I create by 3 millimeters. Because we're going into the material, we now need to make the adjustment that we made earlier, and we can push this slider forward, and now our depth of cut will be 30 millimeters. I need to make a small access slot here, and the height of the cut is now going to be set to 40 millimeters. So we can undo the lever, lift up the fence, and then we can put the depth setting forward to the 40 millimeter mark. So now my machine is set to cut 40 millimeters in height, but also 30 millimeters in depth onto the material. We're going to put one connector at the front, one connector at the back, and these will be where our connection system will go. So we can work in the vertical position with the Domino XL, but I want to make sure my machine is really stable while I'm working. So we can use one of the accessories for the Domino, and then we can screw this onto the base of the machine. And as this increases the surface area, it means that it's a lot more comfortable and stable to work with. So now I can position the centre of the machine dead onto the pencil line, and then we can make our cut. So I've now got the two access holes created so we can put in the next part of the fixing. So the part we cut earlier we can now swap around. And then we can put the part of the connector into the two slots. And now the bar part of the connector we can put on a plastic cover on here, and this replicates the timber dominoes. We can put this onto the centre. And then click the two together. Depending on the type of application that you're going to be using, you can either use a single cover or you can put two covers on, but it's dependent on the type of work that you're carrying out. So the next stage is to put this part of the connector into the slot. And then with an Allen key, we can just open this up a little bit and then push this into position. So the two middle ones will have two timber dominoes put into position. And then the next stage is to bring these two together. And as you can see, this will go together really simply and easily. And the next stage is that when we tighten these two Allen key bolts up, the whole joint is pulled together really tightly. So, on my face side, I have a flat joint, but also one which is very, very strong to use. But on the underside, where we have the hole for the connector, we can also place a couple of decorative covers. So we can have neat work on the underside, but also neat work on the top side as well. So, as you can see, working with this type of connector from Festool is simple and easy, and you also create a very strong joint, but if necessary, this joint can also be taken apart. So I hope this has helped your understanding of working with this type of system, and of course working with the Domino XL and the Festool connection system, and I'll see you again next time. Thank you very much.